91.1, our Oscar edition. The Oscars ended just a couple hours ago, and Lance's dad is one of the, I don't know, how many people in history got nominated for twice in one category?
Well, he didn't get nominated twice in one category. He was nominated against himself.
Yeah, he got, so in 1960, your dad was up for Best Screenplay twice. Two of the best screenplays, of the 5 best screenplays for that year, were written by your dad.
Right, and that was before he invented the Pink Panther and wrote the first Pink Panther film. So this is nothing.
It was
me.
Pelotok
I'm
and
not
what?
Impressed at all.
Yeah, it was Pelotok and what? Operation Petticoat?
Pelotok with Doris Day and Rock Hudson and Tony Randall, actually, and then that was nominated against, and he won the Best Picture or Best Screenplay, and that was nominated against Operation Petticoat with Cary Grant and Tony Curtis and his future wife, Tony Curtis's future wife, I forgot what her name was, Janet Leigh.
Yeah.
And then it was also in that category was Ingmar Bergman. So he beat Ingmar Bergman, one of the great directors of all time, and I think somebody else like Fellini or somebody else equally big. But anyway, we've discussed this before, but I guess it's worth repeating because I wanted to tell you about how we used to pick the Oscars when I was a kid. See, a lot of people think that there are conspiracies about who they pick to win the Oscar.
They think the very first Best Oscar award was fixed because in 1927, Rin Tin Tin was the greatest dog actor of all time. He was apparently a fantastic actor. And there's a rumor written, Susan Orlean wrote the biography of Rin Tin Tin, and they think that he may have won Best Actor for the very first Academy Awards. And the Academy was like, we can't have a dog win this award. It'll wreck the awards.
That's not how they said it. They said, they can't have a dog winning the award. This has got to be big. Hollywood's got to, we'll never recover from this. Come on, let's all get together and make sure that what we want happens here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's how they said it.
Okay. Because all the moguls in early Hollywood were Jews.
So what happened?
They gave it to a dude, not a dog.
All right, well, here's the more depressing story.
Okay.
When I was a kid, since my father was not nominated for an Academy Award as I was growing up, only when I was a baby, he was sort of not interested. And so what he would do is when he got the ballot in the mail, he would give it to me and say, yeah, you fill it out. And I was 12. I had seen some of the movies, but not others. And sometimes he would specify, oh, that's a great old actor. He never wins anything. Give it to him. But that was literally, he never spent more than a minute on it. And then on Oscar night, we would all get together and sit on the couch, and he would put Oscar on the coffee table, and we'd watch. Now, most of the time we hadn't seen the films, okay? Mm-hmm. We saw maybe 1 out of every 10 movies that were nominated. Now, I will say, for the honor of my father and for the honor of the Academy, that eventually they started to send you films on DVDs and VHS tapes and Betamax tapes so that you would see the films, which was, I think, a good idea. I mean, it was like that way you got the films from the companies that had made them, and if you were in the Academy. And we had hundreds of these films. I had a whole library of hundreds of video films. And then my father died. He still didn't watch them. That was towards the very end of his life. And my father died. And I had just left a Buddhist retreat that I'd been in for several years, where I became incredibly ethical. And so I wrote back to the companies, hey, my dad's died. You don't have to send these movies anymore. So they stopped. Or I would have had 1,000 movies here and been able to
we have like hundreds and hundreds of movies, because Writers Guild and all the TV shows every year, because I belong to the TV Academy.
So what I wanted to say was that the movie, the people that win the awards, it's not fixed. For people that don't know how this works, what happens is the writers nominate the writers
and vote for
so the actors nominate the actors, the directors nominate the directors, and then the overall Academy votes for the nominees that are presented to them.
Yeah, I think they call it peer voting, where you can only vote, except for like best show, best picture, you can only vote in the category that you're supposed to be the expert in.
Until the 5 are chosen, and now it's more than 5. But when they finally choose the award, the nominees, then the whole Academy gets to vote, which makes it kind of interesting that way. And I don't know, is there anything else I should tell you about this?
Okay, so you know how Trump, when he declared his candidacy, he said that people are coming over the border from Mexico, rapists and drug dealers and murderers. He assumes there's some good people too, and turns out that who really are coming over the border are Best Picture. Best Director winners. 5 of the last 6 Best Director Oscar winners are from Mexico.
Wow. 5 of the last 6. And what were these films for? Can you repeat them?
Gravity, Roma, are both by the same guy. Inarritu, or is it? Corona. Then Inarritu won it, I think, twice, and
Shape of Water.
Yeah, Shape of Water. The having sex with a fish dude.
Well, that's so they had an illegal alien doing a sex with a real alien. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, look. Hey, listen. We have 150 viewers. This is the best you guys are going to get. This is the level of I can offer.
Plus, we're sleepy. It's freaking. What time is it?
11:50. Anything? Yeah. We'll put some time into this.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna. I know. It's 11:15 on Sunday night. And the reason we do it on Sunday night is because the 405, even though it's got 12 lanes across the 405 is the busiest highway in America. And they keep adding lanes, and it doesn't make it any less congested. So we do it late at night, so the drive isn't too miserable.
There's been talk about or maybe Volver is kind of speculating that film quality has gone down because of like Harvey Weinstein.
Oh yeah, our director is speculating that with Me Too happening, but specifically with Harvey Weinstein out of the business, that the quality of films may have declined, because Weinstein was known for making entertaining / prestige movies.
What did he make?
He made Shakespeare in Love, which was entertaining. I mean, every year he had 1 or 2 movies nominated for.
Can I say something about Shakespeare in Love?
Yeah.
There was a scene where a woman was having sex doggy style in Shakespeare in Love.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I don't remember it that well.
I remember it, and I thought, wow, what the hell is this happening for? Why is there somebody? Why are people having sex doggy style in Shakespeare in Love? And I guess now I finally got the answer. Because Harvey Weinstein was behind it.
I don't know. I mean, people have known that. I mean, it's not like a new position.
Yeah, but I mean, why? How did it manage to find itself into a movie about William Shakespeare?
But everything is now fair game. There's a new show that I recommend called The Other Two. It's on I think it's Comedy Central, and it's about these two kind of ne'er-do-well 20-something brother and sister, and they have a brother who's more than 10 years younger than they are, and the brother sings a song on YouTube, and it goes viral, and he becomes a young teen singing sensation.
Okay.
And it's about the kid becomes, huge, like Bieber.
Okay.
Though without being as much of a prick and a fuck up as Bieber.
Okay.
Though he's gotten his shit together some, I guess. But anyway, the brother and sister are fuck ups. And it's about, what it's like to have their much younger sibling become famous, and they're just kind of, left tumbling around in his wake, picking up little nuggets of fame from him. And the older brother is gay, and he's roommates with a straight dude, who, even though he's straight, nevertheless just casually makes out with the gay dude from time to time. And it's one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen, because it's a straight dude who inexplicably will occasionally just make out with a gay dude. And
by the way, that's really the sign of the coolest you can be. In America today, for a young person, it's very, very cool to be very pro-gay. But the coolest thing is if you're straight, but occasionally let a gay guy really hug you and kiss you, and sort of hug and kiss him back.
Well,
by the way, I know this because millennials have told me this.
Well, it makes a certain kind of sense, but in the show, it's weirdly hilarious, because the gay guy, the straight guy is really hot. The gay guy is never the aggressor, and he doesn't understand what it means. Why is the straight guy doing this? And it's never clear. And the gay guy gets very frustrated because he eventually yells at the straight guy. He goes, "You're just using me for some weird thing." But the deal is, you saw doggy style in Shakespeare in Love. Yet on TV, you can anybody can turn on and watch. There's nobody carding people to watch this show. You've got weird straight gay sex going on, and just, you can say fuck as much as you want on basic cable, because there's nobody in charge. There are no ratings. Well, there are ratings. They throw the thing up in the corner. But there's nobody who's going to stop you from doing that.
Well, my point is that I wouldn't care if the people doing a doggy style were ordinary people or even dogs. It's just that I never saw the point of throwing that into a film that was supposed to be about Shakespeare. In other words, if you're doing a movie about Shakespeare, aren't there an abundance of things to cover about Shakespeare before you get into the doggy style?
Would you have been less weirded out?
Actually, they show him, I think I remember this scene. He runs in, he finds the woman he loves doing it doggy style. with somebody.
Are we talking Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah.
That
But
was
it wasn't her. It was the woman before her that he loved, I think.
But would you have been less weirded out if it had been missionary style? Is it the position, or is it just that they showed somebody having sex in a movie that didn't need to show somebody having sex?
I think the position was important, but again, you didn't have to show it, is what I'm saying. It was gratuitous sex, which sounds like Harvey Weinstein. There you go. It was gratuitous. It isn't necessary. You could have Shakespeare opening a door, going, and seeing his beloved running out with some other guy. You didn't have to show them actually having sex doggy style.
On the other hand, you grew up in a time, and your dad wrote movies in a time when you couldn't show people having sex. And, one rule of movies is show, don't tell. So what's more showing than actually showing people having sex?
Well, besides that, it was a film that you could be relatively young and see. It was supposed to be kind of sort of a family film. So, I don't know. It seems to me that there should be limits on what. This is almost pointless at this point, because I'm going to tell you guys a story. When I taught at a college, they called me in one time for saying that a girl would look good. She was showing me her jewelry. One of my students, a 20-year-old. And I said, she was showing me her necklace. And I said, well, you'd look good with a pearl necklace. And that went all over the school. It went all over the college in minutes. I got called into the office.
At that point, did you know what the other meaning of pearl necklace was?
Precisely. I didn't even know what it meant. And so I'm leading to something. I'm just saying that kids today and college administrators know every conceivable sexual thing you could ever possibly imagine. And they were watching porn in my class. They would bring in porn on their computers and watch it during my lectures. And so I guess me objecting to a little doggy style and Shakespeare in Love is absurd, but somehow we have to get that genie back in the bottle, so to speak.
It's not going back in the bottle. The only thing that's going to put the genie back in the bottle is, you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Robot girlfriend. When we're run by sex, but not forever. 50 years from now, when we're half robots or whatever we are, we'll be able to engineer the level of sexual. I was thinking today, I was driving from gym to gym, and I was thinking how I kind of miss the 70s, even though I shouldn't, because in the 70s, not having sex was thought to be dysfunctional. Now, everybody is completely aware of sex's potential to cause lasting damage, to give you a good, healthy case of PTSD. In the 70s, it was assumed that sex was normal, and if you were, easygoing and attractive, then yeah, you should be having lots and lots of sex, right?
Oh yeah, it was healthy. It was considered important for your health.
And also like good, clean, easy fun. And if you objected to or had some, didn't think sex was, the characters in movies, the authoritarian characters, who were the assholes, they like the gym teacher in Porky's, the people, people who were anti-sex or trying to stop people from having sex were always frickin' assholes.
Well, I'll have to, actually, I've been saving this. This is a subject I brought especially as a favor to you.
Okay.
I was bringing this up to one of my millennial friends, and he showed me the range of options you have now with sex dolls. And I have to say, it's come a long way since the since the
What, the $20 blow-up dolls that you would get as a prank at the porno store?
Exactly. They have personalities, and I was looking at them. You can have a range of different types of bodies and faces, and I asked him, well, okay, we now have robots that are, for $1 million in Japan, they've got a robot that actually has a personality or something. It's actually random, and it gradually gets to know you, and it becomes your friend. It's for elderly people, and it lives with them. And
you don't bang it, though.
no, but if they were, I asked if they were going to combine that technology with the sex toys, because really you're almost onto something. I mean, I thought about it and I realized, I may never get you to vote for Trump, but I might actually get into this robot girlfriend thing.
Well, Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, Super Bowl champions, he got busted at a massage parlor in Jupiter, Florida this last week, or at least they announced the charges. I think it happened earlier. They have him on video, apparently, though, innocent till proven guilty, but apparently there's video of him asking for sexual services.
But it was with a human, not a robot.
Yeah, but the deal is,
sex with a human bores me.
Robert Kraft is, 74, and I was tweeting, and I should probably remove these tweets where I was saying, what a freaking asshole, but he's been widowed for 6 years. He's worth $6 billion. His wife died 6 years ago. And I was tweeting about what a sleazy guy, but no, he's a widow, and he's worth why shouldn't, I should retract the tweets where I was being self-righteous. But the deal is that I shouldn't have been such a prick about that, but on the other hand, I think it is an old guy thing to not just stay home and beat off.
No, if the guy's got $6 billion, he could get the $1 million Japanese robot that mimics personality and facial expressions and takes care of elderly people, and combine it with the sex toys that are beautiful, and you have a choice of facial appearance. For about, maybe $3 billion, he could make a perfectly acceptable substitute.
No, not $3 billion.
For $3 million for a real woman.
Kinda. But the deal is that Robert Kraft...
Not that your right hand isn't better than some women, but go ahead.
Well, Robert Kraft was probably he's a man of the 70s.
That's right. He's old-fashioned. He wants the real thing.
Yeah. But I would say that people younger than us will, in the future, probably be involved in fewer sex scandals and imbroglios, however you say that, because they will be...
You mean peccadillos?
Yeah. Just freaking because I think younger people are more acclimated to taking care of their sexual needs via just internet porn.
No, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying there's a new frontier out there.
Yeah.
You combine animatronics, the latest computer robotics that the Japanese are working on, and you get to pick your face. They have realistic genitals.
Yeah, but there's willing suspension of disbelief, where somebody like the $20 blow-up dolls that basically, you know, they look like pool floaties, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need to suspend a lot of disbelief to be able to, you know, have sex with one of those. And I've seen, you know, articles on the cutting edge, like sex ladies that have sex dolls that have. But plus, there was the Ryan Gosling movie, Lars and the Real Girl.
Oh, what wisdom did that have for us?
The deal is that here's what I tweeted. You can hate this, but you know, I tweeted something about, I don't know, I did some Oscar tweets, and it turns out that I am followed by a few Trump supporters who just, I assume, track me to see what liberal nonsense I tweet, and then tweet back, you know, that's just stupid. But I tweeted, you know, that I'm okay with the Oscars being a celebration of liberal values. The world is a celebration of liberal values. Now, you can actually argue that.
Wait, I'll argue what I would argue. What I didn't see the Oscars. What was it about the Oscars that made you feel like you were, you know, being represented so beautifully by them today?
I don't know, like you know, there was an ad about all the labels that of women are labeled hysterical, and you know, it showed women mostly participating in sports and getting pissed off the way guys do, and doing various things that guys do, but being labeled for doing them with adjectives that are generally applied to women. Like if you're on Twitter right now, there's a trend of analysis that shows, you know, there are, 3, 4, 5 women candidates, declared women candidates for president on the Democrat side.
Okay.
And like one of them, what's her name? Amy Klobuchar. Mm-hmm. There are a bunch of stories about how she's kind of a mean boss. She might throw stuff. She just gets angry with her staff, and people are saying, well, this kind of thing would, if it were a man doing it, it wouldn't be labeled in the same way.
If it was a man doing it, he wouldn't have his job. He'd be sued up and down the block.
Well, anyway, so there's an ad like that was applying that analysis to women in sports, like to the point where like women weren't even allowed to run marathons until, I don't know, 20 years ago, 30 years, and because it was supposed to be too hard on their bodies, and that showed a woman sneaking into a marathon and them trying to pull her out of the marathon, officials, and she runs away. And
yeah, that was in the 60s.
Okay, well, you know, Green Book, though it got Best Picture, and you know, Twitter thought that was ridiculous. There was a lot of but even though Twitter thought it was ridiculous because they thought Roma should have won, Green Book is itself kind of a celebration of liberalism, because a white guy and a gruff, streetwise white guy and a hyper sophisticated black guy over 2 hours become friends. You know, they build a cultural bridge. So there was a lot of that.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to win. I did not see Roma, but I did see Green Mile, the Green Book twice.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a good film. Now, my only problem with it is that the family of the black pianist says that they didn't portray him fairly. But it doesn't take anything away from the film. You don't have to, the film doesn't have to be accurate to the guy's life to be a good film. And there were things like that. It was true. My father told me. My father lived in the South when he was in college, and he said, "Yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that. There were darkness laws, so that a black person,
sundown laws.
That's
black people couldn't be in a town after sundown. Certain towns,
right? And a variety of other degrading things. It's kind of amazing what actually happened in this country. But it was a feel-good movie. I mean, everybody that saw it really
it was fine. It was, my wife and I both made it all the way through it.
Did you see it in the theater?
No, but at home, my wife has the option to just fall asleep, which she'll do 40 minutes into a lot of movies. And I'll in the theater, I'll fall asleep about an hour 20 into a superhero movie because it's just too long. There's too much shit going on.
I will say one thing about the Green Book, and that is Viggo Mortensen is a very underrated actor. People just know of him because of action movies and Lord of the Rings, but he's a ludicrously dedicated actor. He actually lived in Russia for a year to prepare for a film where he played a Russian.
Eastern Promises or something?
Yeah, and I saw him in a film that he did after Lord of the Rings, Just for Love. He did a film, an action movie, about a Spanish 17th century musketeer. And I forgot the name of the film, but he actually learned Baroque pronunciations of the Spanish language, so that while he did it in Spanish, but he wanted to sound like Spanish of the period. So he's a really good actor. And when I watched the film the second time, it was just to appreciate his performance, because he really. It was funny. I read a review of the film by Michael Medved, and Medved said, "No, the Italian family was ridiculously stereotypical of Italians, and if anything, that was the only culturally insensitive mistake of the film, except that I know New York Italians, and yes, they are exactly like that."
The deal is that movie...
the problem with New York Italians is that they are parodies of themselves.
That movie was written by a family member, like a nephew.
Right.
And he was actually in the movie along with his cousin or something, who was the son of Tony the Lip, the Viggo Mortensen, whatever. Those guys, you could belong to that family if you put on about 60 pounds and lost half your hair. There's a certain family resemblance.
Well, thanks. But my point is that Italian Americans really do. They are like that in New York, and Viggo Mortensen was. He really lives the part. He put on all that weight.
Yep.
I really feel it's so strange when these actors put on all that weight. Like, you remember the beautiful woman that won the award for Monster?
Charlize Theron.
Yeah, she put on a huge amount of weight, and then they get their figure right back.
Kinda. Because they train for 3 hours a day to get it back, and they have dietitians and chefs and stuff, and that stuff freaks me out because as a near anorexic myself.
Well, because you get fat cells that are with you forever, and I don't know how they get rid of them. But anyway, Viggo Mortensen was great, and the story was really adorable, and I think it seems to me that racism is very, very dead in America. If you have to go back 50 years to find a story that racist, about people being that racist.
Well, no,
and wait. And that Americans would love the movie that much because we're not racist. Because that is what we want. We would like the racists to get along well. I don't see a lot of racists that are angry about that movie.
I would argue, I guess, just straight out of I'm pulling this out of my butt, but that the average level of racism in America has probably steadily dropped, but in the last little while, the activity level of very racist motherfuckers has gone up.
Do you think that Obama helped bring that back into vogue, if you will, or
racism?
Yeah.
Obama? I think. Well, I mean, it's a couple things. I mean, when we talk about the kind of racism that gets in the news, like with hate crimes, we could, and also crazy people, like people who go on racist rants, like the guy in the coffee shop, that lawyer. It's usually people who are full-on crazy or borderline crazy who snap, and who've been encouraged to snap by, parts of the zeitgeist. And you can make guesses as to what makes up the zeitgeist, and you can say, yeah, having a black president might trigger some people, and having a president like Trump who is, as a liberal, I would argue, kind of encourages divisiveness. Though I want to get,
what are the three racist things that Trump has done?
All right, well, he comes down the escalator declaring his candidacy, and he starts off with, saying that rapists and drug dealers and murderers are coming over the border. I mean, that was his first message.
Absolutely true.
Except that the rate at which, I mean, we've also argued about this, that the rate of criminality among both illegal and legal immigrants is lower than people who are born here.
Yeah, I don't believe that statistic anymore. I think that's been warped. But, and as I've said to you 6,000 times, it really doesn't matter, because every American getting raped by a Mexican illegal alien should not have been if the government was permitted to deport people for breaking over the border illegally.
All right, so
what Trump said was not racist at all.
Well, let's
suppose that's not racist.
All right, so what about the deal with the Central Park Five, where he continued to support, the prosecution of those guys? I don't know. Do we have to argue about whether all the...
Well, here's the thing. You say every week that Obama helped bring America together and Trump was divisive on race.
And
the reverse is true. Obama would play up every single racial incident he could, because that was his stock in trade.
Not really.
He was the biggest race hustler of them all.
No, Obama was criticized by the left for not being enough of a race hustler, for not making a big enough deal about racial issues.
No, he went to the UN, he went to the United Nations, and said that Ferguson was an example of how racist America was, when that cop was fighting for his life trying to defend himself from a black guy that was attacking him.
Well,
and that was what the grand jury found, and acquitted the cop completely.
Yeah, well, Ferguson
wasn't... And Obama knew that.
Ferguson wasn't just... Now, maybe he could have picked a more...
Has Trump gone and done anything bad about America for years?
What?
Yeah.
Has Trump ever gone to the United Nations and said...
Trump hates the United Nations. He went to the United Nations and bragged about how great he was.
No, but degrading America or race. What does he say about America, Trump, when he's in the United Nations?
I don't remember, except that he talked about all the stuff he'd done.
Well, Obama is famous for saying that racism is in America's DNA.
Well, there is a thread of racism.
We're the least racist country on earth.
Based on what?
Based on, this is the country where more people from Africa have come to America since the Civil War than were brought in as slaves.
Okay.
People from Africa are desperate to come to this racist country.
I want to do all this. I want to finish up the Oscars first. Can we do that, and then we'll have this?
All right.
All right. So I thought it was a pretty good broadcast. I only saw the last couple hours. I missed the beginning. It seemed to be decent. I bet your ratings are up-ish, though award shows are a slow. Well, TV in general it's not dying, but it is declining. As are other forms of mass entertainment like professional sports, because they're not going extinct, but like viewership of TV in general, of any particular channel, especially the broadcast channels, declines at least 1% a year, and probably more than that. And when there's a strike, you lose 10% of your viewers, and you don't get them back. And it's because there's a bunch of other ways to be entertained. The Oscars don't have as much oomph because people have so many more choices about. It's like, remember when we were kids and it was exciting once a year when The Wizard of Oz was on and you had to watch it?
Yeah, you mentioned this last
Yeah, and it's the same deal where, like, for some people, like seeing Doggy Style Sex and Shakespeare in Love might have been like an amazing little 2-second treat. But now you can see, just on regular basic cable, you can see all sorts of shit. And the internet is a cornucopia of porn. And people spend more on video games now than they spend going to the movies. It's a complete new form of entertainment that's grown up in the past 30 years and now surpasses movies. So it's slowly sucking the juice out of, big ticket entertainment of the past.
Well, I have to say that there's for the first time in my life, I've heard conservatives say that they're tired of seeing movies because they know that when they go to see a movie, they're going to be insulted. If they're a Christian, if they're pro-American, if they're pro-big business, if they have certain views about foreign policy, they're going to be insulted if they're conservative. And so a lot of people, like myself, for example, are just not seeing as many movies anymore. And the funny thing was, I thought it was just me. But I noticed that you can sense the left-wing bias in almost every movie that you see. And you just get tired of it. Well,
I would argue, I don't see as many movies. My wife and I don't see as many movies. We used to see every frickin' movie. We on a weekend, we would see 3 movies, or maybe 4. We'd go to one, we'd sneak into another, and the next day we'd go to, we'd get.
What do you mean? You pay for a ticket, see a film, and then sneak into another without leaving the multiplex?
Yes. Not every week, but maybe 5 times a year.
I've got that against you now. If you ever try to run for president, I'm going to reveal that.
I'm being shown the Oscars stage this year strongly resembles Donald Trump's hair. That's interesting. I thought it was a nice set. It was a big golden wave of a big, just abstract wave surrounded the stage. But yeah, you could argue that. There's a caterpillar, a poisonous caterpillar that looks exactly like Donald Trump's hair. But I get frustrated with movies. Sometimes because of, you can be a liberal and still get I get sick of cliches of any type, but some of the cliches are liberal cliches. And I don't want to see a movie where I can predict 2/3 of the next line coming up. 2/3 of the time I can say the line before they say it.
Can you put your hand in, just have it in one position?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, most of these films are not written with the idea of having any kind of original drama or human interaction. I mean, they've destroyed the Star Wars franchise. I can't see it at all.
Hold on, because what made the first Star Wars movies amazing is nobody had ever done science fiction that looked that good before. The technology didn't exist, and some of the dialogue was a little snappy, but still, the Force is. There was still plenty to be annoyed with in the early Star Wars movies, but there was so much stuff that was new and amazing that you didn't have time to sit and get annoyed at it. The Force is as a philosophy there's nothing there. I'm sorry.
Well, it is now. It isn't a philosophy. It's just metachlorians. That's what the magic power is from.
Yeah, but Blade Runner was, there's a scene in Blade Runner that I always think about, and it's not the scene I'm supposed to think about.
Wait a minute, this is Robot Girlfriends again.
No, Blade Runner is not that surprising a movie. We learn respect for these android kind of. The lesson of the movie is to find the humanity into things in people, and it's a golden rule movie where we learn to find the humanity in things that we're told don't have humanity. With the speech by Rutger Hauer at the very end,
which he wrote.
Yeah, and it's a great scene, and it's great dialogue. I didn't know that, but
his speech was.
It was a good.
Time to die. He talks about the things I've seen will all be gone.
Like tears in the rain. Yeah, good
Mm-hmm.
scene. But the scene I really love is Harrison. It's set in L.A. and L.A.'s all effed up and futury, and Harrison Ford goes down to get dinner or get a meal at a portable noodle stand, and he gets in an argument with the guy at the noodle stand because Harrison Ford wants 4 pieces of fish with his noodles, and the noodle stand guy's like 2 pieces, and Harrison Ford's like 4 pieces, and the noodle guy's 2 pieces, and it was. I love that scene because it just seems like a little bit of arbitrary shittiness that is perfect within. A lesser screenwriter wouldn't have put in the 2 pieces, 4 pieces thing, and it's unexpected and fun.
Did you feel the Oscars weren't very political this year?
My wife said that she was missing it. She goes, nobody said anything profound, and yeah, they weren't that political.
I
Are you equating profoundness with political?
Well, my wife was saying, you know, nobody's made any big statements. She was waiting for some big statement from somebody.
And do you think that people are now starting to believe the Trump doctrine? Because I mean, like,
no, I think that
black guy go up there and say, oh, you know, black, when right now, like, the economy is great for black people, and do you think that people are starting to wake up? Would you say?
I think, well, the first year of Trump's presidency, people that I follow on Twitter were like, don't normalize Trump. Continue to be outraged whenever he does something outrageous. And there's still some, if not outrage, then like at least pointing out when he does something like ridiculous, like Trump today tweeted that he's gonna have a big 4th of July celebration in Washington, D.C. with fireworks. And people are like, just, you know, we're making fun of it because, you know, they have a big 4th of July celebration every year with fireworks. And, but I think people, you know, have settled into their. Oh, sorry.
Do you think Smolin kind of put a little?
Well, hold on, let me finish. People have settled into their stances. Everybody, I think, realizes they're not going to change anybody's mind with an Oscar speech. So I think everybody's just like, yeah, everybody knows where they stand. And even though we're urged not to normalize the current weirdness, it's become kind of normalized. And there is some fatigue with just the daily deluge of stuff. So you were talking about Jussie Smollin, who...
Wait, I just wanted to say one more thing about Blade Runner.
Okay.
And that is the reason that was included, where the guy's arguing with him about the pieces of shrimp or fish, is because it is a dystopian future.
Yeah.
If it was Star Trek, then there would have been many, many fish replicated perfectly, and life would be amazingly advanced and sophisticated and clean.
Yeah.
But it's not that way in the Blade Runner world, which, by the way, isn't even that far in the future. But
I think, haven't we passed the original date for Blade Runner?
Yeah, maybe. So, all right. So what about Jussie Smollett?
Jussie Smollett's the Empire actor who staged a fake hate crime because he was worried, apparently, about getting written off of the show he's on, Empire. And, you know, most of the time I just kind of, if I don't want to think about what I think about an issue, at least I just kind of register what the people I follow on Twitter think about an issue. And what the people I follow on Twitter think is that, all right, just because this dipshit stages a fake hate crime doesn't mean that, well, conservatives are going to say, well, see, there aren't that many hate crimes. And liberals say, yeah, this does, just because one idiot makes, you know, did a fake one doesn't mean that there aren't a gazillion real hate crimes.
Well, I took note of this because I had a feeling this would come up. Apparently, there are fewer hate crimes today under Trump than there were under Obama.
According to who? Whom?
FBI crime statistics.
Yeah, but no, did we look this up already?
We can look it up again.
But they were up they go up like over 10% a year over the past couple of years. Like 17%.
They're down. They're down somewhat. So the Democrats want to keep race hatred alive. That is their motto for the 2020 election. They're going all in with identity politics, and that's it.
All right. So when we break, we'll look it up.
All right.
But all right. So we started to have arguments about immigration. And I said I wanted to finish. All right, so let's go to that, where I showed you an article from today's LA Times that talks about how these, I don't know, demographers have done some research that make them think there's a chance that most experts on population think that the world population will be 12 billion by the end of this century. But these demographers are looking at developing countries where women in India used to have an average of like 6 kids, and now they're down to 4, and it's trending down. It looks like they may settle that when people have enough information, they argue, they tend to have fewer kids. And that India looks like the average number of kids per family may settle down at like 2 kids per family by 2050, and the world population may level out at 8 to 9 billion by 2050, and then start declining. And did you see how many years it's been since a bunch of developed countries don't make enough babies to replace the existing population? Did you see how long it's been since the U.S. has made enough replacement babies?
I did not, but I'm going to interrupt you because you're going to want to answer me.
Okay.
Because I actually read about this last year, and the United States is creating 2.2 kids per family. So I don't know what your new article says, but the U.S. is one of the few advanced countries that is not getting smaller. We're getting larger.
We are, but here's the deal.
And wait a minute. First of all, I should get some credit for knowing that.
Okay, yeah.
All right. But the second thing is, before you go any further, is we're actually taking on over 1 million immigrants from the rest of the world every year, too.
Well, that's the deal. Okay, so the deal is, yeah, we might have 2.2 kids per family, but not everybody is in a family. Not everybody makes a family. So the U.S., for the past 48 years, the U.S. hasn't made enough babies to replace the people who die. That's more than 1/5 of the lifespan of our country so far.
Well, our population keeps going up.
Yeah, but it goes up because we keep attracting immigrants.
Right. We're taking more immigrants than any other country. And in fact, Trump's new plan, which I don't agree with, is to take more immigrants than we've ever had.
Well,
so I don't get it at all. But
well,
anyway,
people like to say we're a nation of immigrants, but I was thinking about it, and I'm pulling this statistic out of my ass, but I believe it's true. I believe over the entire existence of America, and even if you want to go 100 years back before that, before the Articles of Confederation, into the the late 1600s, I believe that for the entire life of our country, more than 1/4 of our population has been first and second generation immigrants. And I don't think any other country can say that. And
today, one quarter of all Americans are immigrants.
But it's always, but it's been like that for the life of the country.
I think it's gone up and down. During the Depression, we didn't get very much immigration.
Yeah, but
and after in the around 1920s, we stopped getting immigration.
We got kind of strict.
Yeah.
But still, you still had all these previous immigrants and their kids. And it wasn't enough to, it wasn't like all of a sudden America became 90% second and third and fourth and beyond, like generation immigrants. I'm third generation on one side of my family and fourth generation on the other. What are you, how many?
I would like to know what the point of all this
all right,
is.
the point is.
I just want to, if you're not, before you get to your point, I'm not sure we need to replace ourselves. It doesn't bother me.
All right, so well, the deal is that most, now I don't know the theoretical underpinning for this, but most thriving economies are based on growth.
Yeah,
Like,
immigrants don't produce growth.
they eventually do, either through themselves or through their offspring. But the deal is, you look at Russia. Russia is the epitome of a crap country. And they have a declining population, or at least they did, I don't know, maybe in the last 5 years it's leveled out. But they have half our population. They have an expected average lifespan of in the 60s. It's just shitty.
Yeah.
And it's the mark of a thriving economy. It's associated with growth. And even that article I pointed out says that a country that doesn't have a growing population is in trouble.
Yeah, there's no reason to believe that. That's just what the article wants you to believe, because the article was written by the New York Times, and they know that immigrants vote 4 out of 5, 80% of them vote Democrat.
You know, I was thinking about this.
So that's all they care about, is convincing you to bring more people in from the rest of the world. But immigrants have not proven to improve the economy of a country.
Well,
there's nothing I can put it to you this way. Illegal immigrants, for example, are a net drag on the economy.
We've argued about this before.
But I have new numbers. The illegal immigrants cost the United States $300 billion a year, and the only thing they contribute in taxes is $18 billion a year.
Where are you getting $300 billion a year?
I'm getting it from the
Center for Immigration Studies.
No, this is the fair.org. That is the American Integration Resource, the FAIR.
So another conservative joint.
Yeah, but you can say that they're lying, but their argument is that illegal immigrants cost the country hundreds of billions of dollars every year because the immigrants require services and contribute very little.
Well, you can, when we break, you can show me the article if you don't mind.
All right.
But all right. So I would argue this, among other things. The U.S. has 1/23 of the world population. That is, for every American, there are 22 non-Americans. The world population is about 7.6 billion, and we've got about 1/3 of a billion. So that's 22 to 1. And which means that if America is a shining beacon for talent, you know, if you've got a talent, then your life will be most awesome if you come to America to exercise your talent. So we can skim the cream of the rest of the world, which to some extent we do. To come to America, we can take...
Actually, we don't. We have a lottery system. And that's one of the things...
To some extent, how many people come from the lottery? And how many come...
It's one of the things I'm trying to... Trump is trying to change. You see, Rick, what we have right now is a system where it's first come, first serve. We don't pick people based on merit. But
people pick themselves based on merit to some extent.
They don't. It turns out that when they've done studies and when they polled people, I've heard numbers as high as 50%, 70%. Those are two different numbers, but I've heard that a huge percentage, possibly the majority of people in the world would like to come to America. Those are not all Nobel Prize winning scientists.
No, but they are all people with enough gumption to try to come to America.
Well, no, they're not. It's just that most of the world is broke, living in broke countries that would like to get here. And so if we open the doors, we're not going to get just Nobel Prize winning scientists. We're going to get the entire population of African countries.
Yeah, but who says we're opening the doors?
Well, the Democrats want to do that.
No, come on. Nobody...
You see, Rick, this is one
I know you want to say I'm a Republican because...
No, this is one of the things that's been bothering me all along. And that is this. Rather than the Democrats just coming up and saying, look, we want America to have another 150 million people from Africa and Central and South America. And we just want that immediately.
But nobody says that. Nobody says that.
But they're just saying it by their actions.
No.
They're making sanctuary states. They're making it impossible to build a wall. They're fighting any merit system of choosing immigrants. They're refusing to enforce E-Verify, where the employers would have to verify.
Well, hold on. Republicans don't love E-Verify either.
They're trying to abolish ICE. But what I want is a fair chance to vote on this, Rick. I would like the Democrats to say, look, we want the entire population of Pakistan and
nobody fucking wants
in the United States, and we want the American people to vote. Instead of, why not give Americans a chance to say, no, I think we've got enough people here. Why not put it to a vote? Why does it have to be sneaky? That's my argument. Why is it that you Democrats can't just let us choose how many people we want in the country? Why do you have to be sneaky about it and pass all these and just end ICE and fight us surreptitiously? Why don't you just admit you want
a majority, only a small minority of Democrats want to end ICE, and even the ones who want to end ICE don't want to end the Border Patrol. They just find ICE abusive.
Well, that's just great, Rick.
But
I'm impressed.
Now you say the Democrats. All right, so you say the Democrats want to let in a bunch of immigrants because immigrants vote for. But wait a second. No, hold on. Let me make my point because it's a new point.
Good.
But why can't you guys? You don't lose every election cycle, but when you do, actually, whenever either party loses an election cycle, they say, well, we have to re-examine ourselves and see how to recapture the voters we didn't get this election cycle. So a lot of the immigrants I've met are fiercely American. The Russians I've met who've come to America want to do they're very patriotic and they want to do American stuff to a ridiculous extent, almost to the extent of the two Wild and Crazy guys. The two Wild and Crazy Guy characters are
Saturday Night Live that people don't necessarily remember.
Right, Steve Martin, whatever, and they come to America and they want to do American shit. They want to get with American girls. They want to dress American. They get it all wrong, but it's there's truth in the characters where, and this is anecdotal, but when I was working bars, sometimes I would card people who were just way too frickin' flashy. Their hair was way too blonde, their jeans were way too tight, they were fashion victims, they were just way too into looking hot in an American way, and a lot of the time they'd be Russian immigrants, because they wanted to get to America so they could do American stuff.
Don't turn your head, I'm going to do your portrait.
Okay, so why can't the Republicans appeal to immigrants to grab some of those voters away from Democrats if you think that Democrats are getting too many immigrant voters?
Do you think the media plays a role in it? When all you hear is all the news is the bad stuff from Trump?
I don't, what do you mean?
You're saying why can't the Republicans get the the immigrant vote? If all the immigrants here on TV is bad stuff about the Republicans, do you think that plays a role?
I mean, media bias cuts both ways. I go to the gym. I go to the LA Fitness at Victory in Coldwater. There are a lot of ellipticals and stair steppers and treadmills with TVs attached, and I get really annoyed by how many frickin' Latinos are watching Fox News. I'm like, what the hell? And I get all grumbly, but like, there are plenty of Latinos, both immigrants and people who've been here who are fiercely conservative and
all right, you made your point.
All right, okay.
Can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here's the deal. In the 60s, in 1964, they changed the Immigration Act so that the United States would pick immigrants in a lottery system and not
all of them.
And not try to pick people from, say, Northern Europe or favor people from English-speaking countries, which was our previous method. What the Democrats found was that people from the third world, like Africa, South America, were more likely to vote socialist than people from well, let me put it this way. All immigrants today, no matter what country they're from, are more likely to vote socialist. And the reason is that in a lot of the countries that they're leaving, they are countries where there's a cruel aristocracy, and the only way to fight them is to revolt, is to have a revolution. Like in South American countries where everything's really unfair and there's a rich oligarchy. And so they are brought up to believe that they have to fight the rich in order to get ahead. And so most countries in the world are either in the midst of some kind of revolution or are bringing in socialism in a lot of areas of their countries. I mean, some countries are giving up socialism, but many of them are becoming more socialist. And so what happens is when they get here, they bring the revolutionary fervor with them. Now, you may say that this is all just a theory of mine, but America is very, as you've said many times, very much less socialist than most of the world.
Only 8% of countries are less socialist than the U.S. is.
Right. So what's happening is people from other countries are bringing socialist ideas with them. They're bringing class struggle with them. And so the Democrats see that and they say, great, we'll be your champions. You'll have your socialist paradise here in America. And that's why they're voting Democrat.
Or you could argue that the people who come here got the fuck out of their fucked up socialist countries to come to a capitalist country.
And vote for socialism.
Nah, I mean, there are plenty of, I don't know the full-on statistics, and it's, probably more people are lean towards what you would call socialism.
Well, 8 out of 10 immigrants vote socialist. And furthermore, of the illegal aliens and their children, I mean, the children of illegal aliens already have a reason to vote Democrat because the Democrats promise that they'll make their parents citizens, or at the very least not deport them. So it's a never-ending supply of voters from the south of the border.
Well, I would say one thing you guys could do, conservatives, is make better arguments against socialism. I mean,
well, we can't argue to people that are here illegally that deporting them is a good thing. So the Democrats have made sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, and their argument to the illegals is that vote for us. We'll give you a pathway to citizenship when you vote, and you'll be able to vote for us, and your kids will vote for us. And the Democrats are even overturning the laws against felons voting. They're going into the prisons in some states to get the prisoners to vote for them.
Well, no, but
yeah, oh yeah. There used to be a law that you lose your right to vote if you're a felon.
That's right, but it's not that you lose your right. You're not
found a rich harvest of votes in our prisons.
No, the deal is.
What do you mean no?
In Florida, they passed a law.
Yes.
That
don't turn.
All right, I got to shake out.
All right.
In Florida, they passed a law that felons can vote. It doesn't mean that they can vote in prison. It means when their prison sentence is over and they've been declared, they've paid their debt to society, then they can vote. It's not like you can vote from prison.
I believe you can vote from prison in some places, yeah.
It
sounds crazy, but it's what Democrats do. They want those votes. If they can get them from illegal aliens, if they can get them from prisoners, they will. I mean, look.
No, that's some kind of crazy exaggeration.
But why is it that you just don't come clean, Rick, and say, look, we are the Democrat Party. We want as many immigrants as America as we can, and let the American people vote on it. Why does it have to be sneaky? Stop. Instead of convincing me every week how great.
Hold on, I'm getting cooked by the heater. I got to move it back. But when it comes to sneaky, they just had to throw out a whole election in North Carolina for a congressional seat because of voter fraud. And a Republican just gave up, saying because he hired a dude to commit fraud on his behalf, to throw out ballots and to mark ballots, and we've talked about him before. Mark Harris in North Carolina. I mean, you can accuse the Democrats of this grand scheme.
Well, I don't know why the Democrats want to bring in millions of illegal aliens. Can you explain it to me?
That's not the deal. The deal is, and in fact,
why do they want to end ICE?
Most people don't want to end ICE. What people want to end is when they hear about abuses committed by. I got a break.
All right, that's fine. We've been going on.